Okay, let's do a sound check. Trying to pull up the stream. Don't know where the stream is. Oh, here we go. Sound check. Perfect. Beautiful. Okay. So, let's make a little game object system, right? Right now, we have a mesh and shader system, and it draws a little thing to the screen. You create a vector of vertices and indices. You supply this to the mesh, and you create a shader. Give it the shader path for vertex and pixel shaders. You in the render loop, you give a render packet, mono-view projection. These aren't used yet, but they will be. And render the packet renders it. So yeah, that runs it. So basically, I need to make some kind of game object infrastructure. But first, we need to start with some kind of naming convention. Then we say lambda projection times lambda view times lambda model times the vec4 input position. copy the res folder to the build path. Then inside of renderer, when we render the mesh, it should invoke the matrices to the shader program. So invoke matrices main shader program. You give it a matrix 4x4, and we use the naming convention lambda model. You give it the model, and we do this over twice or 3 times. So we give it the view and projection. Okay. So that should work the way it is. So I think creating a material class with uniform names and course be useful. Material string model uniform name, something like this. Potentially this is just a draft string albedo texture name, uniform sampler name, normal texture, I don't know, something like that. Just throwing around ideas. So we want to make model matrix, view matrix, and projection matrix. Model matrix will be identity. Same with the projection matrix, or sorry, the view matrix. The projection matrix will be orthographic projection. A little simple orthographic. Then we say M model matrix, M view matrix, M projection. Build complete. Build complete. Okay. So I wonder. Why is it saying that? Clearly it's a uniform. Unless this render doesn't take into account it's not binding the shader first, which it is. Lambda model, lambda view, lambda projection. There should be a value. This is ridiculous. Why is it returning -1? Shader program, uniform matrix 4x4 has encountered an error. GLGet uniform location has returned -1 for lambda model, which either means that the variable does not exist in the shader program or is unused. So how about let's just take a look at what this is actually doing. Location is -1. What gives, man? We're getting the shader program ID. Okay. Like this. Uniform name. So why is the shader program ID, or why is this get uniform location not returning the actual location? That's the real question. How about if I just look after? I didn't think so. But hey, might as well try. Am I just naming them wrong? Well, actually, let's check to see if it's just not compiling. So then that's a different story. But it's blowing up the freaking console. Well, yeah, it's compiling. Also, it would have thrown a fatal error. So, how about this? I'm gonna misspell that on purpose. And then I'm gonna... Oh, Wanka. Literally misspelled that on purpose. It's not working. Wait, what? It's like... It's in like 3 places at once. Res, common. What? How is this even? It's my stupid copy function that I made. Okay. That should have fixed everything. Cool. And now if I do transformations, I can say M model matrix. Why did I just do that? GLM rotate M model matrix by 30 in that direction. M model matrix. Well, so this should be the rotation. It's kind of fast, but let's try Z rotation. And on update, it should have, if I recall correctly, I don't understand why I don't have a delta given. I really should put some delta here, like that. This is not, it's elapsed, or delta time, something like that. So now we just multiply this whole thing by I think. Oh, this might be really dumb. Oh yeah, it's really dumb because I just multiplied the whole thing. What you need to do is multiply that. Cool. That's a little too fast. So, how about let's do it like that. There we go. So I think this should have the delta, right? The angle. So now we got the freaking rotating quad. This is what we want. This is what we want. Because now we can do cool things. We can make a texture. And that's what I'm going to do. We're going to make textures now. I think textures should also fall into, so this, I have this system where it's handles. So I have a mesh handle, a shader unit handle, and I think I'm going to make texture a handle as well. Just because I want the renderer it needs to be renderer specific for texture creation. So we're going to say virtual texture create texture path and virtual void destroy texture. It will take in a texture. So it's also going to be texture 2D, right? It's going to be two-dimensional texture because there are other types of textures. So Vulkan renderer. This is experimental. Still in the middle of. Should be override. I don't know what I was thinking. So virtual texture 2D create texture. These should be create texture 2D. Override. Return -1. Virtual void destroy texture 2D. Override. Okay. OpenGL renderer, we're going to actually implement it because it's based. Create texture 2D const string file path, right? Or texture path. Override. Destroy texture 2D. So this texture 2D create texture OpenGL renderer override. Oh, I don't put that there. And then we'll create a void destroy texture 2D texture. So this will follow the same kind of line of thought. We're going to have a struct OpenGL texture 2D data. And we're gonna say OpenGL texture 2D data. Oh, actually, it's just gonna be. We're gonna make a current mesh index, current shader index, current texture 2D index. This texture 2D index will set at 0. And we'll also have an unordered map for texture 2D, OpenGL texture 2D data, M texture 2D data. So we're going to do the same kind of thing where we say texture 2D texture equals M current texture 2D index. Texture 2D data equals M texture 2D datas dot insert std make pair texture data M current texture 2D index plus plus return texture. Data goes there. We're gonna make a texture 2D.h texture 2D.cpp. This is going to include texture 2D So we're going to make a class texture 2D. We're going to follow the thinking of the previous classes, OpenGL related, that had this kind of setup. So index buffer. Let's copy from there. We would have a texture 2D const texture path. We'd also just have a regular texture 2D and texture 2D, and we delete these two because cannot do that. And then we'll have a void fill texture 2D. We'll take in a texture path. Note. Only call this if it is if the texture is not already initialized with some texture. So we're going to define glue static GL glue GL gen textures. Okay. So we're gonna create some kind of texture ID. When we're gonna gen textures, I think. Let's back this up. Let's take a look. That should be how you create textures, if I remember correctly. Oh great, they go straight into GL text parameter I. Bro, what? Yeah, GL Gen Textures. Oh, and I overlooked STB. I forgot I need something like that. Yeah. I'm gonna add it as a Git submodule just because I don't need just because I don't want to include it in my project like manually because it's not my code. So I just don't do that, you know? I don't do that. But let's take a look at the STB. Honestly, this guy is brilliant. The guy who made this is brilliant because I've used his code for my project before, for C projects, and I don't know. He knows what he's doing. So boom, I got STB. Strictly for the parts that I need though, which is STB image. I love it. I'm going to add it as an include directory. CMake source dir STB slash. So now we got STB. We can say include STB image. Perfect. Brilliant. So in either of these cases, it's going to gen textures 1 at texture ID. Both of these cases, but this one's going to say fill texture. It's going to give texture path, and this is going to say GL delete textures 1 at texture ID. And then this is going to say, well, there's going to be a bind and unbind. Bind is going to say GL bind texture, GL texture 2D texture ID, and that's not to be confused with GL texture 3D or GL, I think, is there a texture skybox or no? Oh yeah, well, I'm pretty sure skybox textures. Oh, it's a GL texture cube map. Yeah, that's a different kind of texture. There's a wide array of different kinds of textures. Anywho, we're gonna say texture path. And here we gotta define STB image implementation. want to see how Hazel does it. Because I'm curious. I'm a curious chap. Right. I don't like this system too much. I prefer to have like handles, and everything is handled by a renderer that is inherited from like iRenderer. I just like it this way because now the renderer owns everything directly, and if you forget to free things or whatever, the renderer takes care of everything. I like the renderer the renderer does its job. The renderer is the renderer. It creates objects, or it creates meshes, it creates shaders, it creates materials, and those don't create itself. It's only created by the renderer. The renderer is almost like a factory for these things. And I want the thing that creates the things to then be in charge of rendering them. I want them all to just be grouped in the same thing. So, destroy texture 2D. That really should just be texture 2D datas dot erase texture. And at the end of the renderer lifetime, it should go through all the mesh data and say mmesh datas dot erase mesh. What about mmesh datas dot clear? Shader datas dot clear. Texture 2D datas dot clear. And this way, look, the renderer is handling all this, right? Because when I clear the mesh data, shader data, and texture 2D data, it will remove the references to the shared pointers, so it'll automatically get cleared because, you know, C++ magic, right? Let's just check. Yeah, texture 2D is included in the path. This should include texture 2D. So, shared pointer texture. What exactly is the error here? Oh, niggity. Houston, we got a problem. Houston, we got a problem. So the problem is because of this handle, the naming scheme. What could fix it is if I put everything into an OpenGL namespace. That could fix it. Why don't I do that? That'll totally fix it, because then we don't have any naming problems. But that does mean we got other problems. But I'd rather do it like this, because I'm not trying to have any weird naming things. Come on. This is a big file. Better do this now than later, right? That fixes it for these parts, but now OpenGL render is gonna have a bunch of errors. But that's fine. I'll just say OpenGL. Now everything reads out like a book. Perfect. It's honestly clear at this point. And I'm just not going to use that namespace because it's going to cause problems. OpenGL, 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 OpenGL. Data texture equals to make shared OpenGL texture 2D path. Okay. So now we now we take a little break. And we take a little break and maybe play Tekkit. Not really Tekkit, but my own little mod pack that I made. It's unlisted because I would get a cease and desist if it was listed because of copyright. And these aren't my mods. So it's a private mod pack. But sheesh, I just got like random chest pain for a second. I don't know if I was having a heart attack or something, but anyways, it's unlisted because it's I want my friends to play it, and I thought the best idea is to put it on Technic because they don't have to download some random zip, but they can download Modpack just by a link. But yeah. But we played the Insanity SMP. It's hardcore Minecraft. I want to show my fire world. Look at this. So this is my house. You know, it's pretty small. You know, not a huge house. You know, it's like an average sized house. But if we go down here,